Steve from the Gathering Games.
I'm Darrel.
We're doing another What Is video discussing tabletop miniature war games. So here at the Gathering Games, we do play a few of the games. Many of you come in Monday nights, you may see us playing Warhammer 40,000 or Age of Sigmar. We've also had some other games played inside this location. So we're going to go over a few of the ones that are commonly played here. And then discuss, what goes into that, what do you need to be able to play, and then some additional things that once you get into tabletop wargaming, you can get further down the rabbit hole as far as the hobby is concerned. So I'm going to have Darrel go over a few of the top 4 or 5 games that you might see played here, and then we'll go from there.
Well, the top is here anyways, Warhammer 40,000, as Steve already mentioned. We have a few examples here. Steve brought his orcs, which are fantastic. Also, I had to bring Robbie G. He's the leader of what would be the good guys in this game, and some other models here too. We also have a piece of terrain from Warhammer 40,000 as well, and another piece of terrain as well. Other games that we have here is this one's Dust. This Dust is kind of a post-apocalypse style alternate reality World War II war game.
That's gonna be awesome in the video.
That's gonna be sweet in the video.
You said it, apocalypse.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of models. I only brought the American faction. There's a Soviet faction, the German faction, and what am I missing for that game?
You got mercenaries, you got the Japanese, you've got the Cult of Cthulhu, as well as there's some aliens that are coming down the pipeline for them as well. The VK, I don't remember what that stands for, but it's really important in the game as far as the lore goes.
Another one of the miniature games we have that gets played somewhat here. I mean, I haven't played it here very frequently, but this is called Cruel Seas. It's by Warlord Games. It's, speaking of World War II-esque alternate reality stuff, it's another ship combat game. It's pretty sweet. I also have a copy of Tanks. I've not played this game, but this is one of the helicopters for the game Tanks as well. I also brought X-Wing, which I love X-Wing, and I left it over there somewhere off camera. I'd love to show you, it's over there. But I have a Millennium Falcon I've got. I am such the Good Guys fan. I play all the Good Guys in all the tabletop miniatures. What else are we missing here?
Another really big one that's really coming into its own now is Star Wars Legion. So the big 4, you got 2 Games Workshop games, Warhammer 40,000 and then Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And then you've got Star Wars X-Wing and then Star Wars Legion. Those are the big 4, not only regionally that get played, but as far as worldwide sales. Those are your top 4 that you're going to see for a miniature, non-collectible tabletop war game. So we're talking usually the bigger scale. It's not usually 1 or 2 models. Usually you see a few more for the gameplay.
Speaking of X-Wing, it just magically showed up. It's really weird. But there's my Millennium Falcon and Slave 1.
So if you like the moving small single unit models around, X-Wing is great for that because it gives you that space battle feel. And then Legion gets you closer to Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000, where you're running units of people and you're building armies based off of their point system that they have. And you can add things to each unit. You can modify your list and your army to how you want to play it. Some other key components you're going to need. Most games will have some sort of measuring device. They'll either come supplied with it, like Legion and X-Wing. They all have their specific measuring device. Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40,000, they all use a standard inch measuring device. So tape measure, some sort of ruled device that will be broken down into 1 inch increments. And the reason why that's important is because each one of these models has their special or specific rules to them. Will control everything from movement to any of their special abilities, any of their weapons. So everything on a model is determined by a range. So everything you need will come with either the rule books that may come with the games, which Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, their rules are free online. So if you're interested and you want to learn that, you just go to the Games Workshop website. They'll be able to guide you in to get the basic rules. As far as rules specific to each model and unit, you'll have to make additional purchases to get those army-specific rule books. Most things you will have to get the models, build them, and then get your rule books to go with them as well. Some other things you'll need for playing a game is usually dice. Usually there's that, again, that component of, yes, you built a really great list and you're playing it really well, but there's always a chance that things could go awry. So most games, most of the top two will use D6, and you can use dice for other things, wound markers, to denote certain objectives or areas on the board. You can use the D6. Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Legion use their own specific dice that will determine successes and failures depending on whether you're attacking another unit or whether you're defending against attacks. And then there's other dice that come into play with that too. But a lot of times you'll see dice specific. Dust also has their own specific dice. All the dice are the same, they just have unit specific markings on them. And then they'll have different success and fails depending upon what you're doing exactly in the game. And most of the rule books will run you through, what does it take to succeed on a roll, what does it take to fail on a roll, and then there may be comparative analysis. So if you're really into numbers crunching, tabletop wargaming is great for that, because you can really get into min-maxing or just running for fun, and then really compare what your dice are doing.
And some of the other things you will need as well. I thought you were done.
No.
Some of the other things you'll need too is a place to play. We have this beautiful battle mat. You don't necessarily need it, but it does add to your tabletop gaming experience. I mentioned terrain earlier. You're going to need something, because most games have what's called line of sight or some kind of cover bonus, which the terrain will give you advantages and disadvantages based on the rule set. And we already mentioned the dice, some random accessories, laser pointers, levels, measuring devices. We mentioned all of that. Table place is kind of important. You do need space. They could be anywhere from a 2 foot by 2 foot section all the way to a 6 foot by 4 foot section of space. It varies on the game you play and the type of game you wish to play too. So you can play in as little as just a small little 2 foot square area all the way up to something humongous like this.
Yep, and similar to our past video, once we're done here, we'll post up some popular, useful links and resources to get into learning a little bit more about each game, because a lot of these games are great because not only do you get to play the games, but they all have an excellent story that goes behind them. Obviously with Star Wars, if you've seen the movies and read the 150 books that don't matter anymore, you know a lot about the story. Warhammer, 40K, and Sigmar, they all have their books that go with things as well. But for a lot of these, the lore is really broken down into other components. It's great to go and find those resources and learn a lot more about the game. Because that's a big component to enjoying tabletop wargaming, is finding a faction or an army that resonates with you or your playstyle. If you ever played RPGs, you usually want to run characters that you can tie in mentally with a little bit. You can understand their motivations. So I like to play orcs. They're all just crazy, run at you, smash your face in, and that sounds great to me. So I love playing orcs because that's kind of their vibe. So it's really important to get in, start learning about a war game, get into a lot of the backstory behind them too. Because even if your army doesn't perform well on tabletop, at least then you can be like, hey, at least I really like their story. I can follow along with that as things progress too. So that's most everything for tabletop wargaming. Our next video is going to be the basics of hobbying, which is really important. A lot of people will just build models and then run with gray plastic, and that's great. That's totally fine. Because the most important thing is that we're getting together to play. Obviously, right now, social distancing, we're being very safe, somewhat. Which you can't see. I've cropped the video, so we're actually very far apart. We're not. We're fine. But anyways, the biggest thing with the hobby is that you get in and you understand what you're getting into. There's a huge investment into it, but most of that investment is time and patience with yourself. So we'll get into a lot more of that with our next video.
And one of the things too, I want to bust one of the myths about this industry, about this hobby actually, is it's expensive to start. It's really not. You can start playing literally for less than $50, and almost every one of these games has a really low entry point. If you want to go for the biggest, best, most fantastic army ever, yeah, it'll be expensive, but the same applies to everything you do, including golf.
Yeah, for sure. So this definitely falls into the realm of luxury hobby. So there is a price point inherent with it. But the great thing about this store, if you want to get in and you want to learn to play a war game, odds are one of us has something that can play with you, get things started. Otherwise, we can always figure things out from there. So that's pretty much all we got. So thanks for tuning in. Like I said, stay tuned for more videos. We're gonna get into hobby stuff next. But yeah, again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys later. Stay safe.
Later.